I'm sure many of you heard by now in California, they're working on their reparations. And in San Francisco, they came up with $5 million per Black resident that's a descendant of slaves. And you have right here Pastor Amos Brown that came out to oppose it very vocally. Ladies and gentlemen, whenever you see someone that you never seen a lot of before, you know this is somebody they pulled out of the bowels of hell and paid him off. I know a paid Negro when I see one. And this is a paid Negro. He went from 0 to 50 overnight in the media. No, this is somebody that was planted on the committee on purpose, just for this sole reason. So, Reverend Dr. Amos Brown sets the record straight. I support direct cash reparations, but the numbers need to be realistic. First of all, what's realistic when nothing like this has ever happened before? So, what's realistic? 20,000 each? I mean, realistic to you may not be realistic to everyone else. Just understand that. So there's some interesting things about him. Like he was appointed on to this reparations task force by Governor Gavin Newsom. So many people are buzzing about reparations. It's definitely a hot topic that's been out there for quite some time, and it's not tamping down at all, and it shouldn't. It shouldn't. It's long overdue, whether you like it or not. So they're not even at the stage of submitting their recommendations. We're still in the preliminary phase. Remember, that report is not due until July 1st. So for him to be this vocal against reparations and against the $5 million payoff, he says it's not realistic. And then he started firing off things like, housing, education. Those things are not reparations. So what you're saying is you would prefer to see the descendants of slaves with a bunch of programs and not direct payments, which is reparations. Well, I tell you what, if it gets approved, then give Reverend Amos Brown a bunch of programs and give the rest of us direct cash payments and give him the program since he feels that's good enough. Then he should have that. All right, so many reparation activists are up in arms about a recent letter posted by Amos Brown, the president of the San Francisco branch of the NAACP, a statement for some that seems to indicate that Brown is against the proposed cash reparations plan in San Francisco, which would give out, because they send handout, it's not a handout. If it's a handout for us, it would have to be a handout for the Indians. It would have to be a handout for the Japanese and the Jews. Plain and simple. It would be handouts for them as well. $5 million to Black citizens who are descendants of slaves. But Brown, who has been a pastor at the Third Baptist Church of San Francisco since 1976, happens to be Vice President Kamala Harris' pastor, says this is not so. So he attempted to clarify his stance on reparations, I guess because he came under so much fire. Soon after the NAACP issued a clarification statement on its reparation stance, stating that they are indeed for cash payments, but the $5 million, per person is an arbitrary number. Well, of course it's an arbitrary number. Everything is still in a preliminary state. Y'all coming out like the report is finalized and it's going to be this $5 million. And even if you felt this, you should have held off until everything was finalized. And then you could have said, no, this is too much. Maybe it should be this. But you're doing it in a preliminary stage. That looks bad. It makes it look like you are against reparations altogether. You know, everybody is still kicking around ideas at this point. We don't know if that payment's going to be $5 million each, $1 million each. We don't know. We're not at that stage yet. And the NAACP, instead of jumping out all fast, you should have waited. Now, also in the news, y'all, Wells Fargo gave the NAACP a $50 million grant. And that might have a lot to do with it as well. Just look at the timing of this entire thing. So, they're talking about healthcare, housing, education. Those are programs, those are not reparations. So, many have interviewed this man so far. So now he's backtracking after he started bringing up programs instead of direct payments. He's now saying he's not against cash payments, but he want that and more. Yeah, so I guess you can't take the heat that's coming at you now. He doesn't want to set Black America up for failure. He says we need realistic proposals. $5 million is unrealistic. Well, that's not unrealistic to other people. And I don't know, why is a president of the NAACP such a big deciding factor on what we get when the NAACP don't do squat for us. Y'all don't do nothing for us. Also, he seems to feel the $5 million mark may be unrealistic and could cause the whole reparations plan to fail. He point out that he doesn't want to set Black America up for failure. No, actually $5 million will resolve a lot of issues. We would be able to start our own businesses. We would be able to pay off things that we need to pay off. How could that hurt us at the end? You can buy homes with that 5 million. How the hell does that hurt Black America? And and he keeps talking about how the 5 million is going to hurt Black America and it's going to set us up for failure, but he don't tell us what those failures are. He's just talking in a hypothetical way. So he says he doesn't want Black Americans set up for failure and that there needs to be a realistic repair proposal. He said it's not either or. He wants both cash payouts and funded programs. Right, but you did not say that initially. You said initially you didn't want the $5 million, and you said that you wanted all, and then you listed all of these programs. We can't program our way out of the condition we're in. It just doesn't work. There's been plenty of programs. We can't program our way out of this. It's got to be some real tangibles. It's got to be direct payments. And it's got to be a substantial amount. America's not getting off, they're not going to get out of this whole thing without it costing them. That's unrealistic for you to believe that. Yeah, it's going to cost them. It's going to cost them plenty. Considering his connection with Vice President, he's Kamala Harris's Reverend, or Joe Biden has been in touch with him regarding reparations policy development in California. Surprisingly, he said no. and that it's a local matter. I bet you a lot of people been talking to this man behind the scenes about reparations. He's not going to come out and tell you that. So this direct confirmation from Brown about his stance seems to be more in line with what he previously stated, and shown even those the statement he tweeted seemed otherwise. He was initially for cash payments. Yeah, well, and now he's flip-flopping. The NAACP San Francisco branch tweeted a statement on March 14th that it was critical of the San Francisco reparation proposal. We strongly believe that creating and funding programs that can improve our lives of those who have been impacted by racism and discrimination is the best path towards equality and justice, Brown said in a statement posted to Twitter. Now, where in there in that statement did he talk about direct cash payments? He didn't. He said programs. He said programs. No, we can't program our way out of this, Reverend Amos Brown. So, but many took the statement as saying the NAACP and Brown were against cash payments totally, and they blasted the Reverend on Twitter. Yeah, they sure did. He caught all kinds of hell for his statement and coming out so strongly against the $5 million proposal. The NAACP today, March 16th, posted our discussion with Mr. Brown and issued an update clarifying the organization's stance on direct payments. But you know what? Now they're coming out talking about, oh, we want the direct payments, but that's not the, oh, see, what I read to you before was the statement he put out on Twitter. He said to put programs that would benefit us. And in that tweet, he never said nothing about cash payments until people got on them. So the city committee had proposed $5 million payout to Black locals who are descendants of slaves with guaranteed annual income of at least $97,000 for 250 years. The committee also proposed the elimination of personal debt and homes in San Francisco with a price tag of $1 a family, News One reported. And that's a good proposal. And despite what Brown says, you can't let one man sit on a committee and decide everything. That's why you got a committee so everybody can give their input. So Reverend Brown is the vice chair of the California Gavin Newsom 9-person reparations committee. That committee has also called for cash payments. Brown has not spoken out against this. Right. It's almost like he came out of nowhere. Okay. He didn't say nothing all of 2022 because they were having meetings in 2022. And then all of a sudden, when this $5 million is discussed, this man comes out of nowhere. In 2020, Gavin Newsom signed legislation to begin a 2-year exploratory via task force that is to deliver a plan on what reparations might look like for Black Americans living in the Golden State. Task force members are expected to deliver a final reparations proposal by July. Right. So if we're still in March, if to me, they came out at the wrong time with this. And it just looks so bad out in the media. But This is the intent, especially if you're paying somebody to do this sort of thing. Brown is also part of the San Francisco African American Reparations Advisory Committee, which published its $5 million suggestion in December. And it seems he was on board with that plan at the time, according to the Daily Mail. And then all of a sudden, he was not for it. Yeah, dude got paid. And it just goes to show you how low a reverend will go to undermine his own people. We know the Black church has been a detriment to our people, and it still is one. And you see how pastors historically have been utilized to pretty much control the masses. And they still run to these pastors to these, this very day because they think they're keeping control over us. But what they are not filtering in is many of us have left that church and never going back again. The Black church don't have the power that it once had. And, these politicians only stay connected with them just to keep us in line. It's not really for any other reason or to do for us. We already know this. And then, of course, as you can see, like with Reverend Amos Brown, you got plenty of pastors out here that will be more than happy to comply. But y'all, please tell me what you think about this video. Please leave your comment and subscribe. Don't forget to hit on the notification bell, and I'll see you on the next video. Peace, family.